I'm here. I'm just allowing you guys to filter in. But hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm taking off my Wi-Fi so I don't have dodgy Wi-Fi. And then we're going to get started. All right. Welcome you guys to this morning tea. I mentioned this last week in my last live that I would be doing morning teas on Wednesday. I'm going live for them because it's easier for me to get a morning tea out to you guys. I've been feeling so much guilt about not doing morning tea. I do enjoy doing them. They just take a lot of time to do. And so going live is the best way. And Wednesdays are the best days for me to be able to do that. So I hope they're okay with you. For those of you who at work, just put your earbuds in. You don't have to watch. But if you can like this video, that'd be great. There are 30 people in this room and 9 likes. If I could get some likes, that'd be perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to say hello to the few people who are commenting, but I won't be commenting for the beginning of this video because for those of you who are not watching it live, I want you to be able to get some of the information that I have to say out first, and the latter part of the video will be me just answering questions and looking in the comment section, you guys. So please just be wary about putting comments in the comment section until towards the end so that I can answer everybody. So I just want to say hi to Endorsi, hi Tuesday, hi Ara, hi Ambulator, Melissa, Kia, and Mona. Hi, Mona. Aisha. All right. Hi, Carla and Chantel. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nate from London. Great. I'm actually putting up a video soon. It's called Annoying Things About London, but it's just kind of tongue in cheek. It's not really annoying things. But, you know, I got to put clickbaity titles so that people comment. All right, you guys, so let's get started. It is 12:02. Those of you who will come in and just trickle in and have to catch up. Hi, Claudia. Okay, so I think I said hi to everybody. Two pretty brown eyes, and Hot Cocoa Bang Bang. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Hey. All right, so let's keep it going. Let's get to my notes. Okay, so yesterday marked the anniversary of Trayvon Martin's passing. That would be February 26th, and by the hands of George Zimmerman. So for me, that is what sparked a lot of what we have going on in this country right now, as far as Black people standing up for police brutality and unfair treatment just in general. And I know George Zimmerman is not a police, but I feel like that kind of sparked this new wave of civil rights that we now need to start paying attention to the things that are happening to young Black males and Black people in general, that be Black people of the LGBTQ plus community, and, you know, the things that are just happening in this country that have not been acknowledged. And now is the time for those things to be acknowledged, and we're full on into it. So yesterday was a moment of like remembrance for me, and like gratitude and, you know, prayers and good vibes out to Trayvon Martin's mother for having to, you know, her son having to, you know, be a part of this thing that has happened in our country. So a lot of my actions today revolved around Michael Cohen and his testimonial in front of Congress. And it was crazy. I only watched an hour of it because, girl, who has the time? I have so many things to do, and so many things, you know, happening in my life that I just could not sit down and watch that. But I caught a little bit of it. So let's jump into Michael Cohen. So Michael Cohen is a former lawyer for Trump. He worked for Trump for 10 years. He was there in the beginning of the investigation. That's not the right word. When you're trying to run for president, campaign. And he recently was indicted and convicted for fraud and for lying under oath and committing and, like, you know, making false testimonies on behalf of himself and on behalf of Trump, so he says, allegedly. And so he's already been convicted. So that was a separate thing. Michael Cohen has already been convicted. He's going to jail. He got sentenced to 3 years. And so that is his situation. And so he says that, you know, I don't know why he chose to come forward and speak up about the president. I'm not sure what was his motive, because I wasn't really following the case that closely. But if you guys are watching, you can look into the chat section because people I know are going to give me that information. So he is in front of Congress right now, and they are going at it. Like, you could see him sitting there, and off to the right are all the Dems, and off to the left are all the reps, and the reps are pissed. So the Republicans have decided that they are going to attack Michael Cohen's character, saying, like, you were just convicted of being a liar and a cheat and a fraud and doing things for your own personal glory. Why should we believe you? Why are you grandstanding now and going up against the president, our wonderful president, who's doing wonderful work right now across seas, trying to secure our borders and make this country safe. And it's so interesting the way that the Republicans talk about Donald Trump. It's like they don't remember that he is a celebrity. It's like it's like he's making deals to ensure our, like, it's like, I think of billionaires like like Donald Trump as being completely self-interest. Like, every single billionaire and really, really rich millionaire out there is self-interest. Like, there's very few of them who, on their way to the top of making all their monies, didn't have some kind of shady dealings, didn't do things that would be considered unethical, didn't do something to amass that amount of money. Like, your hands are not clean. You know, your hands are not clean unless you, like, created something. And I don't even know if Bill and Melinda Gates' hands are clean, but you know what I'm saying? Like, Donald Trump didn't create anything. He's just a businessman who, like, did a bunch of different things, and a lot of them kind of shitty, and he just made a lot of money from it. So, like, for them to talk about Donald Trump like he's this great civil servant is, like, ridiculous to me, and it's so hard for me to take them serious. So anyways, their whole point of view to him was that he's a liar and he's coming through just to get more publicity and notoriety, so that when he drops his mixtape, his book, his all his deals, all of his, you know, his new line of ties, like, they're making it seem like Michael Cohen has made this choice in order to be, like, the next great big entrepreneur. Like, oh yeah, you're only serving 3 years and you're so unethical as a lawyer, and all the rest of the lawyers here in this room know how unethical you are because you recorded conversations between you and Mr. Trump. And, like, oh, how do you feel about that? Is that something that's legal? And he's like, well, in the state of New York City, it's, you know, it's not illegal. And they're like, well, ethically, how? And I'm just like, you guys, you're acting like this person is one greedy Gus in, like, 500,000 non-greedy Gus's. Like, he is just a part of the system. He is a part of the money-making way that capitalism commands this country. And you were attacking him as though you don't know 5 people just like him. Oh, the people of West Virginia would think that this whole entire, you know, Congress hearing is a mockery and a waste of time. There's other things that we could be doing, like securing our borders and worrying about some other thing that's going on. And the Democrats are wasting everybody's time. Meanwhile, the Democrats are just like, so thank you so much, Michael, for coming forward. We just want to know, like, what do you know about collusion? What do you know about Stormy Daniels? What, like, they're asking questions from the perspective of a group of people who are definitely trying to besmirch the president, which he does that on his own, in my opinion. And I guess I'm left leaning. So let me go ahead and announce now that I'm left leaning. And so obviously I think that there were some moderates who came through and asked general questions that you would ask of any person who's close to a president who has been rumored to do any kind of thing illegal while holding the office. Like, those are valid claims. And so for me, for the Republicans to just attack Michael on his character so much, like, why should we believe you? You're only doing this for the notoriety. You're only doing this for the money. You were dishonest. And I'm like, so many people are dishonest. Like, this person is coming through saying that our president's a racist, our president is just as crooked as him, and that he's not going to go down without speaking the absolute truth. Because if he's going to prison for all these things, like, he's going to speak the truth of what it was like and what he did for the president. Part of that is what they're uncovering is, like, hush money for different things that came up during the campaign. So, and I think also, like, illegal campaign funding somehow, like, he got money from ways that he wasn't supposed to get money. So yeah, it was just really interesting. Crimes committed were done to your benefit. Did you just get caught? Is that why you're coming forward? Would you have come forward? I'm like, no, the answer is no. If you don't get caught doing something, unless you have this huge moral, like, change of life, like, people aren't going to come forward and say they did something wrong, because, like, once you do that, you have to acknowledge all the good deeds you've done for your entire life. And that's really hard. And the main thing he said is that he's doing this so that on the record, he can show he did the right thing for his children because his entire family is affected by this. And there were some reps who were just like, you know what, we do feel sorry for your family. However, sir, X, Y, and Z, this is our point, and we feel like you're untrustworthy and you're a convicted felon and you're about to go to jail for lying, and this hearing is a farce. And it was just like, we could be talking about other things. Like what, Mrs. Miller? What could we talk about? Like, there's other things we could be talking about in any instance, at any point in this world. Like, whenever the president tweets something stupid, we could be talking about other things, but we don't. This is where our country is right now. So we all just need to settle into it, no matter how annoyed we are, which is part of the reason why I stopped doing morning tea, because I just, like, didn't want to hear anything more about Trump and his goings-on. Like, he's over there in North Korea right now, hugging Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un is a dictator and probably a terrorist in his own country to his own people who know nothing about anything. Because they're in a communist country that is so oppressive and crazy. Whew. Okay, let's stop talking about that. So I'm going to just come to the comment section real quick to see what you guys are saying. Ooh, Lorraine loves her president. Okay, girl. Ronald Reagan was great and an actor. I wasn't here for I mean, I was here for the Reagan years, but like, I could get behind Reagan more so than I could get behind Trump. Just, that's just me. And I think for Ronald Reagan, it depends on where you were in the economy, that he was either good for you if you were like on a certain place, and he was bad for you if you were poor. How bad is it people do central? Okay, you guys have the conversation. I'm not going to go into, I can't talk about Trump because I'm biased, and it's just, it just is what it is. Like, I want a different type of president. I don't necessarily want Donald Trump impeached because I don't want the vice president to be president. And I don't know if an impeachment means that the entire like presidential family goes away or if it's just the president. I'm not sure. So in my mind, if they impeach Donald Trump, then Mike Pence will be president. And that is not what I want for me and my vagina. So there's just that. All right. So let's move on to another topic. So there's Christopher Hasson. So Christopher Hasson, let me read this information because I couldn't go too deep into it because of the Cohen trial. So Christopher Hasson is a Coast Guard. He's 49 years old. And apparently he is now labeled a domestic terrorist. He was plotting in his office, like he works for the Coast Guard. He's on active duty. He was plotting in his office terror attacks in the hopes to spark a race war. And this is getting little to no coverage, which is crazy because this is crazy and inflammatory for, somebody who has his last name is Hasson. So it's not Hassan. Let's say, to outward appearance, the 49-year-old lieutenant was a suburban father with a desk job supplying Coast Guard ships who was glimpsed by neighbors coming and going in uniform or walking his dogs with his wife. But in court filings, prosecutors said that he was also a domestic terrorist and self-described white nationalist who studied the methods of the Unabomber, the Virginia Tech gunmen, and other extremist killers, stockpiled guns and drugs, drew up a target list of prominent cable news journalists and Democratic politicians to be killed, and prosecutors said of wanting to murder innocent civilians on a scale rarely seen in this country. Lieutenant Hasson was arrested last week, appeared in federal court in Greenbelt on Thursday wearing what is MD? Maryland? I hope it's Maryland. On Thursday wearing crimson jail clothes, blah, 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 blah. Magistrate Judge Charles Day said, blah, 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 blah. The sheer number and force of the weapons that were recovered from Mr. Hasson's residence in this case, coupled with the disturbing nature of his writings, appeared to reflect a very significant threat to the safety of our community, particularly given the position of trust that Mr. Hasson held in the United States government. In Lieutenant Hasson's defense, his lawyer depicted him as a loving husband and father with no criminal record and 28 years of military service. She called the cache of weapons that federal agents found in his basement apartment including high-powered rifles, assault rifles, and shotguns and pistols, modest at best, and said that in a country with an estimated 363 million guns, it was unremarkable for a Marine Corps veteran like him to own 15. Is 15 guns a lot? I don't know. I feel like if that's your job, you might, own 15 guns. I do think that him plotting against it's just like when I think of like people in the military being racist, for some reason, I think then you're not really about this country, because this country is filled with so many different immigrants, including your descendants. Like, unless you're Native American, you don't own any right to this land more so than any other race of people. Like, we're all immigrants, all of us. And it's so weird that there are some people who don't think of themselves as being an immigrant, that are just like, I don't know. It's so weird. Because like when I've traveled to countries where there is such a rich culture that can go back to ancient times, I'm a little jealous. Like, I'm a little jealous of like the Nigerians who have a sense of like ancient history in their community. I'm a little jealous of like the Chinese, the Koreans, the Japanese. I'm a little jealous of like even the British, the fact, the native British, the fact that they have like on paper documented, the Greeks, they have this like 800 BC lineage that like I can never even recall or think about. Being in London last week or the week before and the week before really like solidified in me like how little of my history is that I know of, that is taught to me, that is recorded. And so when I cannot have such a deep rooted like patriotism the way that some people are, and I do have it, but it's not in like my forefathers, like, Benjamin Franklin, like that. Those people aren't my forefathers. They're the forefathers of this country, and I'm a citizen of this country. But like my history as a descendant of American slavery, like, is just so different that I can't understand how someone can just be so racist yet fight for this country, which is filled with so many different immigrants, and then want to start a race war. I mean, and that is something that really happens in the US. Like, we're very unique in the US, for those of you who are not from here. It's a unique thing, and it's always so jarring for me to go to another country where there isn't that many immigrants, where the majority of the people are indigenous to the land, and feel a different sense of like connection that I just don't feel, and I think that you can feel it if there's certain places where you do feel it, right? Me personally, I'm just speaking from my personal experience. So it's just so interesting that this man could be like, oh, let's start a race war so that we can, what? So you can do what? Most people, regardless of how racist they are, don't want to be involved in a race war, even if they hate other people. Like, do they want to fight for it? No, they don't. Most people don't. Who wants that? Lunatics. Lunatics from both sides. I don't care what race you are, what culture you are, what community you're from. If you would like a race war, or you think that's the only way to move forward, or purification is the only way to move forward, it's just like weird to me. All right, 91 people in this room right now. If I could get some thumbs up. We've got 46 thumbs up, but I know there's more than 46 people that are in this room. Oh, Chris is here. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining. Chris is actually the one who reminded me that I said I was going to do a morning tea today. Hey, girl, hey. I just see that somebody put Native Americans owned Black slaves as well. I don't think anybody is impervious to ridiculous racist behavior. I think especially if you have a culture that already has slaves. And like, I think a lot of cultures in this world, pre-American slavery and pre the Middle Passage and pre the Atlantic slave movement, had slaves. So sometimes I think Americans, specifically American Blacks, like think that slavery in America is the pinnacle the pinnacle of like slavery that happened. Like, let us not forget about the Jews in Egypt, the ones who built everything. Like, so, and I'm saying that, like, I understand that American slavery was specific because it was a specific group of people who were made to be slaves, right? Not anyone could be slaves. In certain countries in Europe, when they had slavery, anyone could be a slave. It didn't matter your skin tone. It mattered about like who caught you. If slavers caught regular people living their lives and just sold them into slavery because they could, that happened. But I think the transatlantic slave trade was so specific because people from a specific country and people of a specific skin tone were made to be slaves. So like, and also I know that the Native Americans and not all tribes had slavery themselves a certain way. Like if someone committed a crime, they were put into slavery and maybe never got out of it. So slavery wasn't necessarily new to the Native Americans or new to any group of people. Like wherever there's people in power, slaves existed. Where you could take advantage of people, slaves existed. And I think that America is specific is because it was a specific group of people. It lasted longer than it needed to. And then afterwards, the treatment of the freed slaves was so egregious that it ruined, I think, us to this day because of all the laws and policies put into place against a group of people who were brought to a place to be the slaves. So, and also like the treatment of the South Africans, whereas they weren't slaves, the treatment of the South Africans by the Dutch was like a crazy situation too, because the Dutch just came over there and said, hey, you're second-class citizens. Yeah, I know this is your land, but guess what? We have guns, so we'll take over. So like, I just think that there's a lot of like, oh, our slavery was the worst. Our slavery is the only slavery. Like, no, slavery is all bad all over the place. But I think like you got to know about like slavery in general before you really deep dive into it and make, you know, concrete decisions. And also my opinions and my decisions about it evolve all the time. Anytime I learn some new bit of information, you know, like human nature is human nature, but there are some people who have had power long enough and have, you know, put upon their ideals and their, what's the word of beauty and all that stuff, right? We can all admit that that's what's happening all over the world, globalization and white supremacy and whatnot. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so speaking of slavery, there is a new group, which maybe they're not new, but I just discovered them because my father is fighting some of them on Twitter, right? He's apparently started to tweet and now is like fighting, you know. Apartheid was slavery perfected. They legit the study and created manifestos on slavery. And yeah, everything apart. Like I get my like the fact that apartheid. I mean, I feel like the Black Americans were in an apartheid, not an apartheid like specifically, but Jim Crow. Post slavery, what happened in this country is like crazy. But yeah, the apartheid in South Africa is just like so upsetting. It's just so upsetting to me. Okay, so American ADOS is what I want to talk to you guys about. American Descent of Slavery. Okay. So ADOS is a group of descendants of slaveries, American descendants of slaveries, who have decided to kind of like faction themselves and be like a political movement sort of. And so a lot of people in the Democratic Party, including my father, feel like it's derisive. And if we are going to take back if the Dems are going to take back the White House, they need to not split the Black vote. And I feel a ways about this in general. In my mind, how do I say this without like being like xenophobic? Because I'm not xenophobic. Obviously, like I'm half American and half not American. So I do feel it like from both sides. I've seen a trend of descendants of slavery Blacks that are descended from American slavery feeling a certain type of way against other Blacks, which to me is xenophobia. So if you are like, I've even heard them refer to themselves as being regular Black, which I think is like the hubris of the American mind to consider themselves to be regular Black. But anyways, so like there's this like movement against Africans, like any Nigerian, Ghanaians, any people from the motherland. And then there are the, weirdness against like the Haitians and the Caribbeans folks, the Jamaicans, the, people from St. Martin, people from Virgin Islands, and American and British. But like, it's just this thing that's happening and I don't know what it is. And personally, like, there's this idea that Black Americans fought in the civil rights movement and did everything that they could to get rights and get to the place that we are now, 50 years ago. And then now all of these other Blacks from other countries are coming to the US and shitting on the Black Americans, looking down on them, but reaping the benefits of all of the hard work that W.E.B. Du Bois and Martin Luther King did. And so to a certain extent, I understand that sentiment. But to another extent, I think I am not the descendant of W.E.B. Du Bois. I'm not the descendant of Martin Luther King or any other civil rights movement or any other Black people in this country who has done a thing. So I'm not going to take credit for their work because we are currently in what I think to be a second civil rights movement. And I'm just on the periphery looking and supporting and buying merch when I can. But I'm not out there in the streets. I'm not a DeRay. I'm not the ladies who started Black Lives Matter. I'm not the mother of Trayvon Martin. Like, I'm not out there pounding the ground. So like, I don't feel like I have any right to be like, well, we are the ones who made it so that you could come over here and go to university. And now you're cheating on us and making us look like we're just lazy bums who don't take advantage of the American dream when, we have had all of this systemic racism that's been holding us back. And it's because your name is not Johnson that an employer will give you a job over me. Now, I feel like it's derisive and it's a waste of time. I think that the way to combat that, if you are feeling a necessity to combat that, is to make sure that your children go to college. If you have children, the people who are fighting, right? I know that I'm speaking about the people who are specifically fighting against non-Black American Blacks. Like, it's the way you combat that is not by going on Twitter and alienating yourself and making a subgroup of people. I think the way you combat that is by having children and making sure that you do what you need to do to make sure that they go to college and that they are, in line with the Tundes and the, Unchechis, like whatever, if that's how you feel, like, or, with the whatever Jamaican name, like, with the Winstons, like, I don't see any reason to be like, we're all Black in this country. Yeah, we all have a different experience. And yes, as somebody who has a different, another side of the family, I have heard, oh, Black Americans have been here and they're not doing anything. Black Americans don't care about education. I have heard that from my non-Black American side of the family. But like, that's just what they think because they don't know. They come here with a dream. They work really hard. They try to block out all of the racism and the negativity and just send their kids to college, as does every other race immigrants that come here. The Chinese do the same thing. The Chinese come here, the Japanese or whomever come here, and maybe not this generation, maybe like 2 or 3 generations ago. And they come here and they put their head on the ground and they deal with the racism and they get their businesses and they do what they have to do so where their kids can prosper. And then they look at Americans and they're just like, everybody wants a group of people to look down upon. So let's stop acting like that isn't human nature. It's human nature. So I don't think the reaction to that would be to separate. I think the reaction to that would be to be like, oh, you think you're better than me because you're whatever. Okay, well, you're not, but it's okay. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel the need to separate to make myself feel better. Like, if there is a Ghanaian or a Nigerian person who thinks that they're better than me because of my Black American lineage and their, ancient history, then okay, let them feel that way. How does that affect me? Are they spitting in my face? Not that I'm aware of. Are they talking down are they doing anything to my face? No. If they do, then we'll have words and then we'll keep it moving. But I don't think separating is the way to do it. Now, there has been cause because one of the cast members from Insecure, whatever her name is, Orgy, I can't remember her, Yvonne Orgy, she and some other people orchestrated like a Nigerian party or like a Nigerian American summit or some kind of like gala, and like didn't invite anybody who wasn't Nigerian. And I'm not sure if they invited other Africans, right? But like, I'm saying they didn't invite any Black Americans from what we know. Maybe there were, maybe they just didn't show up. I don't know. But that was the call out, was that it was kind of derisive because why would you not do that? And there would be not a Black American function out there that would have a Black function and not invite Black people of the Caribbean and Black people of the motherland. That wouldn't happen in the US. No, and maybe it would now. Maybe ADOS is throwing those parties and I'm not aware of it. But there was that comment. It's like, that doesn't happen here. We embrace that. At least some people embrace that. So it was seen as kind of derisive and a choice to make. And did I feel some kind of way about it? No. Like, if the Nigerians want to get together and high five each other, like, okay. You know what I'm saying? If the Ghanaians and the Nigerians and, the Lovies and the Boris Kojos and all the rest of the Black people who are doing things and trying to take that information and that knowledge and that money's back to the motherland, trying to do whatever, I honestly feel like the only way to combat that is for Black Americans just to do it. And not be like, well, we're going to do it this way. Like, just do it. I don't think there's a reason to separate. Like, who cares? Like, I don't know. I feel like everybody has their different advantages and you just have to manage it. All right. So I'm going to go to the comment section. We are 31 minutes in and there is nothing else that I have to say about anything. So let me see what you guys have to say. All right. So Quasi says, I find it hard to be proud of my race or country or gender because I don't remember the multiple choice questionnaire. I feel lucky, but not proud. All right. More than welcome to do that. Every group can do this. Kea, human is true. I don't know. What? Let's go. What is Kea saying? Kea, hi. If everyone, Chinese, Jewish, Latino, French, everyone knew that they had a part 2 of their ancestry, I think there would be less racial divide. There is one true race, human race. Malcolm was of Grenadian descent. He was also Jewish too? Malcolm X? Is that what you're talking about? ADOS can give us power in numbers. So many civil rights leaders were of mixed ethnicity. So true, Belinda. So many of them were. And it was part of their privilege to be able to do that. And that's another thing that I do think that, like, for instance, W.E.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass, right? Like, they were able to do things, I imagine, I should say, because I wasn't there and I don't really understand the exact race politics of their time period, that they might have been allowed to do more things because they were lighter. I think like Lena Horne, when I think of like artists like Lena Horne, and like nowadays she would be like Mariah Carey, where she just kind of like read the line and we didn't know what she was for a long time. But like back in the day, she was Black. And so she was able to get into rooms because she was so fair skinned, but I think she still had to enter through the back. You know what I'm saying? So like, I do think that we were able to do things and accomplish because mixed race people were able to do things for the fact that they were closer to being white or had different, hair texture or whatnot. And now they're celebrated as being like, the first Black this, the first Black that, whatever. But at the time, maybe they didn't feel that. Maybe they were trying to hide the Black, I don't know. Like, you never know what people did, because I know that there were a lot of people who gave away their children who were passing. So you never know. I'm not calling to question their Blackness at all. I just think I wasn't there, and the politics of being Black back then are just so much different than they are now. Oh my God, your dad is tweeting. Yeah, my dad is tweeting, Chris. he like sent me something. He's like, I'm arguing, I'm having a Twitter fight. And I was just like, oh God. In order for blacks to rise in the power, whites, so I think okay, anyways. Yeah, so anyways, my comment section is kind of weird, so I'm not going to go into all the things that are happening in there, but I want to thank you guys for joining this live. That is the end of this live. If you have anything that you would like to send me, any topics that you would want me to talk about, please go ahead and email me at justcallmewa@gmail.com. I'm going to write it over here, and then I'm going to pin it to the top of the comment section. And Brianna, I just want to thank you so much for sending me the email. I was looking through my emails and I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it, but I will look at your topic and talk about it next week. So I apologize. And I do thank you for continuously to send me topics to talk about. I also want to talk about like gossipy things and fun things. So if you have anything, well, no, Chris will give me the gossipy things and the fun things. That's her forte. But I also want to kind of like mix it up. Weird how. Oh, it's just all over the place. The comment section is all over the place and there's no specific questions and there's no like whatever. So that's why. All right. Thanks, Squatty Chat. Thank you guys so much for joining this video, and I will see you next Wednesday at noon PST. And then wherever else you are in the world, you'll have to catch it then and you can watch it afterwards. I will be putting up videos later this week. We have our final Love After Lockup. I do have my London video and I do have my Married at First Sight video. So there will be more videos coming from me this week, but thank you for joining this chat. Remember to always be you, be true, and find your place. Bye. Thank you, Miss Rivera. Bye.